Hi cozy friends! Today we're gonna color together. So if you have a coloring book, if you have a coloring page, if you have your markers, get them out. We're gonna get cozy, we're gonna color, and we're gonna chit chat. And we are chit chatting about literally everything, every single thing about my life, about my opinions, being a creator. This is for all of the questions y'all have been asking, advice you've asked for. We have so much to get through. It's going to be a chunky one. I'm excited and I'm honored that you're here and even want to hear any of this that is coming out of my mouth. So thank you, and let's just jump in. Today we're going to be coloring this cute little outdoor scene. I feel like it's the perfect transition from like summer to autumn. This is from the Country Kitchen Charm coloring book by Creative Haven. It's like my favorite coloring book brand. It's so charming and cutesy. Let's start with this guy. I'm so excited. And the cute little doggy, I love him. And at the same time, let's dive into the questions. They range from the most intrusive and nosy ever to the most silly ever. And I love both ends of the spectrum as somebody who is intrusive and nosy myself. I've collected all of these questions from Instagram and from YouTube. They were so good and so thoughtful, and I was truly in awe at like how thoughtful some of the questions were. I'm gonna lump these in categories, so if you like really don't care about creator life or creator tips, I will have that timestamp so you can skip to other parts of the questions. But we're gonna start with my past, my upbringing. The question that inspired this section was someone said, can you give us some Kennedy lore? My name is Kennedy. I know I go by Cozy K on here, and some people don't know what my actual name is. Some people have called me like Caitlin and Katie. My name is Kennedy. I'm 28 years old. I'm a 96 baby, and I grew up in Newbury Park, California, which is a neighborhood within Thousand Oaks, California. It is quite a quintessential suburb. Like when you think California suburb, Thousand Oaks, California is exactly that. I'm gonna start with the doggy dog. I guess he'll be like a lab because Goldens are kind of a specific color. But he's cute. I'm thinking for this blanket under him, I want to do like maybe a green and red to do that fall transition. You know, like a classic camping blanket. Cute. And then he has a little collar. So I'm gonna do like a little gold here. And not have a dog without a red collar. Yay! I think I'm gonna make the ball blue. One of the questions I got asked was like, what was little Ken like? Like, were you always this organized? Always. Like I was the kid organizing my family's like junk drawers and stuff for fun. I loved school, you guys. I was one of those kids who absolutely loved school. Like I like counted down the days during summer to go back to school. I also loved to like declutter. I would go through like decluttering phases in my room and just like get rid of everything and start fresh. I loved to decorate. My mom was an interior designer, so growing up I loved being around her and following her to her clients' houses and all of the places she would go to source furniture and source carpets and draperies and appliances. I loved it. I loved everything about it. So that's absolutely where I got my like design bug from. Always loved to read. I love to read. The one staying up like reading books. So I really just have been the same since I was a little kid. So school, what was school like for me? After 6th grade, I went to an all-girls Catholic school from 7th grade all the way through senior year when I graduated. That was quite the experience, but I also loved it. There are obviously parts about the actual school that were a little love-hate, but the experience I loved so much. I loved being around all girls. I feel like it allowed me to develop my personality and my interests so much quicker. We would come to school with no makeup and buns, and we had uniforms, so we didn't have to think about our self-expression and all of that. And it was just so freeing. It was so freeing. You could focus on actual school. You could focus on friendships and relationships. And I loved that. I loved it. And the Catholic part of it, like I didn't grow up religious, so I always viewed religion perspective of objectivity, and I just kind of looked in on it as like a cultural bystander, like, oh, that's something happening culturally that I don't understand, but I'm just, you know, watching respectfully. In my town and in my school, it was very much like I was the minority in terms of being a woman of color, like heavy minority. So that was absolutely an experience. That was something that like hardened me and forced me to mature and grow up really early. Like it's something that forces you to just see yourself in the world in such a flawed way. It really takes away the naivete and pureness of childhood way earlier than other people have to experience. The people who had similar experiences, I don't gotta explain to you, you understand. Even if you had, you know, friends and a sense of community and belonging, which I did, luckily. I never was like bullied or anything. I always had friends. I always felt like I had my space, but I also always felt a sense of internal isolation and internal othering and external othering, because it was other people that did that to me. Reconciling with that at such a young age and then through your adolescence is a crazy thing. It's a crazy thing. It also made me realize that I didn't want to stay in a place my whole life that made me feel that way, and so that's what led to my next decisions in life. It taught me to find value in self-love and things apart from external forces and like external circumstances. I think a lot of people who are excluded for whatever reason or othered for any reason often have to find that validation from within. So that was really deep, but let's move on. It is deep growing up as a person of color, so that's something that can't be avoided in this conversation. Someone asked my dream job as a kid. For a long time, probably until like 6th grade, I wanted to be a professional ballerina. I wanted to dance for Alvin Ailey specifically because I did like hardcore competitive dance basically all the way up till 9th grade, when I was like, I have to take school seriously because competitive dance took up so much of my life. It's like Dance Moms level competitive dance. Like it wasn't just like hee hee ha ha. It was like we spent all day, every day outside of school doing it, all summer, all weekends. Like it was all encompassing. I had solos, I had duos, I had like 5 different dances, and we would travel and compete. And so that was a lot. Also, I am a chronic outside of the lines colorer, so sorry. The creativity flows through me. I can't help it. Got the fireplace done. We got the fireplace done. So someone asked jobs before law school. So I started working at McDonald's when I was 16 and all throughout the rest of my high school years. And then when I was in college, freshman year, I worked at a pizza place, carry-out person and a hostess. It's called District of Pie, if you are familiar with DC. My first non-fast food service experience as like an 18-year-old freshly learning just like how inappropriate people can be in food service jobs. And then junior year, I worked at this place called And Pizza. We worked like crazy night shifts. I would go to work at like 11 p.m. and then like leave at 5 a.m. Why I was doing that, I don't know. And it was like full drunk crowds all the time, just like drunk on U Street, people going like after they go to the bars, and they would come and it would be like, oh my God. You know, you're doing the dishes, you're getting all this like water on the ground, and then there's all this dough on the ground. So you would leave the shop at 5 a.m. after a long night with like caked on dough on my shoe, and I'd have to like chip it off, and then I always smelled like dough. It was really gross. My senior year of college, I worked for a taqueria, which was really fun. It was this taqueria that would host drag shows, like drag brunches, and that was really fun. So those were like my paid jobs. And then the internships I did, obviously did a bunch of like student council type leadership roles. I say obviously, like, I don't know why that probably isn't obvious, but I did because I was an overachiever who wanted to pad my resume. Freshman year, I just worked the whole summer at that pizza place. Sophomore year, I did an internship with the House of Representatives for my Congresswoman Julia Brownlee. I think it was the 49th district, which is the district of Newbury Park. And one of the parts of that job was doing tours of the Capitol. This is like the fun part of the job, was doing tours of the Capitol. So I know so many useless facts, probably not useless actually, useful facts about the Capitol building and all of the hidden secrets in the United States Capitol building and the rotunda. We would get to like sit in on the House meetings a lot. My junior year and senior year, I worked for a private law firm. So that was when I knew I wanted to go to law school and I wanted to have that experience, but also I wanted to know like what kind of law I wanted to get into. And this private law firm, the craziest stories from it, but doing a lot of discovery documents. If you're a lawyer, you know what I'm talking about, like requests for admissions, all of those things. The other side is like drowning you in requests. But yeah, that's when I knew I didn't want to be a litigator at all in any way, shape, or form. I wanted to be a corporate lawyer, not a litigator. And then someone asked, how was Howard life? Howard life was so much fun. I chose to go to Howard, which if you don't know, Howard is the Mecca, HU. Howard is the most well-known, the Hampton people are going to come for me, the most well-known HBCU, which is a historically Black college or university. So it is a college or university to be a place for Black people to go and get an education back when we couldn't get an education at the schools everybody else is getting an education at. Since the first time I knew it existed, I felt somewhere in my heart that like that's what I needed. I was like, I need that. I need to be around my people. I need to feel like I'm around a community that allows me to like explore and understand myself in a way that doesn't feel like I'm a token. Yeah. And so I got a full ride there plus like room and board. My entire life would have changed if I made any other decision. Like my entire life would have looked different and way worse. Like I don't even want to think about it. But when I went to Howard, I immediately was like, I'm home. Like I'm home. And that was the first time in my life I ever got to experience not having to think about my identity, and I was just me. Like that was the first time in my life I had ever experienced that. I can't explain how important that was in my development as a human and as a person. Finish up my adolescence in education in a setting where your identity was not put into question and your identity didn't shape how people viewed you, didn't shape how teachers viewed you, didn't shape how people talked to you. Like you could really just be you. Immeasurable value. And then also just being able to like learn literature and history through a Black lens. It was just so special. There's a lot of things I miss about it, mainly just the education and like the sense of community. There is nothing like doing a little swag surf at a Howard event. Like there's truly no better feeling than that, and feeling like this is my family, like these are my people. There's like, I haven't felt camaraderie like that since being at Howard, and just like a sense of pride in your culture and stuff. Yeah, but there's also a lot I did not like about Howard. Howard was very, I won't speak too much on the things I didn't like, but I think it's a thing that happens at all colleges. Sophomore year, I studied abroad. I knew I wanted to go to London because I had always been obsessed with London. The rest of my college experience was truly just like me heads down. I was not messing around because I knew I wanted to go to law school, and I knew I had to have like damn near perfect GPA. I liked Berkeley a lot. Law school was some of the best and worst times of my life. Truly some of the worst times of my life though. Like I've never had stress that bad since, before or since. Even when I was working at a law firm that was like almost there but still didn't touch it. Like I had like chronic back pain, I had anxiety attacks. That's when my anxiety attacks first started. I didn't know what they were, but I fully would have anxiety attacks while driving to school, and that's what sparked my inability to drink like any regular caffeine. Like I can't have coffee, or it'll immediately trigger a panic attack, and that didn't happen until I went to law school. How annoying. I cried so much. Yeah, the stress is unreal. I don't know how to like explain why it's so stressful, but it's like this idea, like everyone around you is stressed. You're with the same people all day, every day. You only have one single test that defines your entire grade. On top of that, you're going through this whole interview process that determines you getting your job after school, and that is like crazy amount of stress. It's kind of like being in high school again, but everybody's mature and an adult. You're in a small class with the same group of people, and then you always go and like do something during the weeks. In between classes, you're like hanging out, you're just studying. It's just like this really communal feeling, and it's really special. And I think Berkeley specifically is very not competitive. A lot of law schools are pretty cutthroat and competitive. Berkeley's very supportive, very chill, and I think that's a unique experience in law school. But again, even with that, so stressed. And the last one in past life is hair journey. My hair journey was a little complicated. It was lots of unlearning self-criticism and hate from growing up around people that didn't look like me. My mom was like, I found this perm place, like Japanese hair straightening system. You can just like get your hair permanently straightened. And I was like, permanently straight? Like that's all I ever wanted growing up. I just wanted hair that looked like my friends. I just wanted to wake up and have straight hair. So that felt like a magical moment for me where I was like, yes, sign me up. And also keep in mind, this was at a time where like curly hair knowledge was at zero. For people who were just lay people, there weren't resources for curly hair, and the curly hair market of products did not look like it did today. So I got my hair permanently straightened from like 5th grade all the way through freshman year of college, I think was the last time I got it straightened. And then again, like being around people who look like you, being around people who celebrate the natural features that they have, I was like, wait, I want to like love the hair that comes out of my head the way that it comes out of my head. And so I started growing out my hair, because when you get it permed, it's similar to like when you get it colored, you just have to wait for it to grow out of your head, and then the straight is at the end and you just have to cut it off. So I waited until it grew out to about here. I would just wear my hair in buns. I hated it. I didn't look good. Like I was not looking cute every day, but it was really important to me to grow out my hair. So I did. When it was like about this long, I chopped it all off myself in my room. Just chopped it. Big chop. So if that was sophomore year, had to be like, what, 8 something years now? I don't know. I can't do math. Then ever since then, it's just been growing out my hair like this. One single time did I straighten my hair since I chopped it all off, and I have not straightened it since, have not touched a straightener to this hair since. Literally never look at myself in the mirror and think, I wish my hair was straight. I love my hair. Everything about it. I love the challenges that come with it. I love everything about it because it's me. It's mine. I used to think that like I didn't look good. That's what I would tell myself. I would tell myself, I just don't look good with curly hair. I just look better with straight hair. I would tell people around me, they're like, Kennedy, you never wear your hair curly. I'm like, I just look better with straight hair, guys. Trust me. Trust me. I just don't look good with curly hair. Imagine telling yourself and truly believing that you do not look good with the hair that grows out of your head. Girl, the things I had to unlearn, the self-hate I had to unlearn. Crazy. And yeah, so ever since then, it's been curly. Next, we're gonna do hobbies. Hobbies is our category. Go-to karaoke song. This is crazy. The last variety asked this question, and I love you so much because we have done karaoke together. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do these 2 colors for the little mat that we have here. Yeah, y'all know I'm a karaoke fiend. I love doing any musical theater. Like when I could choose anything, when we're doing home karaoke, I will choose musical theater. You'll Be Back from Hamilton. I love Defying Gravity. Chicago, anything from Chicago. Maya and I always do Chicago. Some Rent, like any musical theater in my bones. Hobby you wish people tried more? 100% gaming. I think a lot of women grew up thinking gaming was for the boys, and I think a lot of the messaging around gaming still in media is like shooty shoot games, or it just has this like tech connotation, like techie, gamer girly. It just has these connotations that I feel like a lot of women still don't identify with and can't see themselves engaging in. And I just like, even after all these years of screaming to the top of my lungs about cozy hobbies, I still think there's like a huge subset of women, and not only women, but I think there's a huge subset of people that are just like, whatever girl. Like whenever they hear gaming, their ears turn off and they just go, okay, not for me. And I just know there are so many games out there that would bring you in, just bring you into the fold. Like there's so many cutesy cozy games that feels like you're reading a cozy book and feels like you're running your own shop, your coffee shop, and you're decorating, and like it's so much fun. I think Sims is definitely the gateway game for a lot of people, where they finally understand, oh, there's games where like I can really just dilly-dally and decorate and like have a gay old time just doing whatever I want. Like that's what games are, and I love that. I'm so glad. I just want more people to realize how special gaming can be, and just like what a good, relaxing, decompressing hobby it can be. And I just want more people to know that, and that's it. Favorite music of the year, 100% Chappell Roan. She has me in a choke hold. Favorite game of the year, Fields of Mystery, I think. Until Tales of the Shire comes out, we'll see, I don't know. But for now, it's Fields of Mystery. I absolutely love it. What got you into gaming? We're circling back to this question. My family grew up like collecting gaming consoles. My dad was heavily into tech, and he's always been like a tech guy, and basically got every single console as it came out. And so we had like all the consoles. It was so magical for me growing up, and it was not only magical in the sense of, you know, the way video games usually are, where it's like you get to escape into a world and you never can experience that. It was also magical for me because it was such a connection point for me and my brother, me and my family. Like it was always something I associated it with, like pure fun family time. And so in that way, it always had a positive connotation. It was always something that meant connection. As the years went on, that like obviously grew and looked different. Like for me in high school and college, it was like only Sims. I only played Sims. I didn't play anything else. Stardew Valley came around and then I started playing that. And then in law school, I started to dip my toes into all of the other games that we now consider cozy games. What do I think about the landscape of cozy gaming over time? I'm so excited about it. I think it's looking up. I think things are looking up. I think when the idea of cozy games first was popularized, it was like the AAA companies, the game publishers, the game developers even were like, oh my gosh, okay, so there is this community that cares about this stuff. And so publishers were throwing money at developers who had these ideas that they were just sitting on forever and they couldn't find anyone to pick it up because they're like, there's not a market for that, silly. Who wants a game about picking mushrooms in a forest? And the developer's like, please, it's my dream. Somebody out there would like it. And they're like, no. And then all of a sudden cozy gaming is popular and they're like, okay, here's the money for it. So I think that's very, very cool. I do think that there's still not enough money in it because I constantly hear from devs that are like, I had this dream for a game, but I only had so much money. They only gave me so much money for it. So I could only do what I could with that. And it wasn't, the end result is not my dream game. And that sucks. That really sucks. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of the cozy games fall flat these days, is because the idea's there, the concept's there, and we all get excited about it. And I'm sure the dev got excited about it too, because they finally got to see their dream project come to life. And then it fell flat because they didn't have like the resources to get them to that final product that would have been perfect. So I think we're seeing a lot of that right now with the really quick popularization of the genre. But I think and I hope that as the community grows, as more women get into gaming, as more people get into gaming in general, I think that there will be more money, more resources. And also with Gen Alpha growing up, that's like 100% made up of gamers. They all game, they all play Roblox all the time. I think that there's going to be a lot more money and resources put into gaming as a whole, as opposed to other forms of entertainment. And I think that we'll see a lot more resources allocated to cozy gaming. We will only see it continue to get better. And then those are my thoughts. I'm optimistic. I'm always optimistic. Is it hard to keep hobbies relaxing when it's so correlated with your content? So work. I got this question in like so many different ways. And I just want to say you guys are so perceptive and thoughtful for this, for even asking this. Like, I don't know, that just shows a lot of awareness and reflection, because I think that there's definitely people who watch my content and are like, oh, it must be nice to do that all day. It's like, I don't. I would say that it used to be. It used to be. In the first like 90% of 2023, I was so steeped in my like toxic workaholic patterns. And we've talked about this before. I talked about this in my burnout vlog, but overworking yourself and being a workaholic is just another form of self-harm. It's self-destructive is what it is. When people look at workaholics, they're like, wow, that's admirable. But like true workaholics like I was, it is a self-harming coping mechanism that you've got to unlearn. Like you have to intervene or you're running yourself to the ground. Such a toxic cycle of going to constantly be busy so that both I don't have to deal with my emotions and I don't have to deal with my life and I don't have to think about anything. I don't have to think about life. I could just work. And then also when you are overworked, you can be like, wow, I worked so hard. I'm working so much, aren't I? And then everyone around you is like, yeah, it's kind of concerning how much you're working. Like, I'm actually worried about you. You've got to chill out. And you're like, what'd you say? Like, it's a sickness. It's an illness. Like, truly, it is an illness that reminds me of like other illnesses, and people don't talk about it like it is that. It's illness I had to unlearn. Now imagine the way that my workaholic tendencies were intertwined with my work being about unwinding and my work being about having hobbies and personal time. Imagine how like messed up that all was. Like, it was so messed up in my head, and I realized very quickly I had to cut that off. Like, I had to unlearn that. I had to stop. Something had to change, because I was like almost at the same mental health space that I was when I was basically working 2 jobs, my like content and my legal job, and that was the worst I'd ever been mentally. And I was getting there. Like, I felt myself arriving at that mental health space, and I was like, how am I working for myself? I'm working a dream job. I have a job about my passions and about hobbies and about self-care and all this stuff, and I'm like dying. I'm like hating life. And so yeah, immediately I changed everything. It was like an overnight change. I was like, I have to change everything. Hiring people, I'm delegating, and I'm having actual me time. And so this entire year I've been like a totally different person, and I've been able to find that balance. I think the pendulum absolutely swings for me when it comes to like fixing behaviors. I have been doing like no cozy hobby content this year because the pendulum swung so far this way where I'm like, I'm only doing my hobbies for myself. And I almost needed that in the first half of the year to learn how to do that. And now that I have learned how to have that delineation of personal me time and personal relaxation and then work relaxation, which for me, it is still relaxing. So now I feel comfortable doing things like this where like we can engage in hobbies together, and this is not the only time that I'm ever doing my hobbies. I could not say the same thing years before. Do you spend all your days doing relaxing hobbies for content? No. And I think I take this kind of comment as a compliment, because to me that means that I am filming and editing in such a way that it feels that way. And that's what I want. That's what I want out of my content. I want it to be inspirational. I want you to feel like I'm gonna go take some time for myself. Look at her taking time for herself. That's what I want to do. The moments I'm sharing with you are from a like very thought out creator perspective, and not like I just happened to turn on the camera for 30 seconds to show you what I've been doing the whole day. If that was my whole day, I would not have a job, because there's so much other stuff that this job requires. I wish though, I wish, yeah. How do you feel like X hobby isn't a waste of time? If you feel this way, there's a series of unlearning and reflection questions you have to ask yourself. I think you have to ask yourself, where is that idea coming from? Where is it stemming from? Who's saying it to you? Who is the voice inside your head saying that to you? Is it your mom? Is it your dad? Is it a past friend, a past ex? Is it an employer? Like, who is saying that to you in your head that it is a waste of time? And like, a waste of whose time? A waste of time where you could be doing what else? And think about the stories and the notions that that person has put in your head throughout your childhood, throughout your upbringing, throughout however long you've known them. Think about if you hold those same values. If you do hold those same values, maybe then you need to approach hobbies in a different way. And maybe you need to structure the way that you approach hobbies a little bit differently than some other people. If you hold those values and you're like, no, I really do think my time is better spent doing XYZ, that's valid. That's you. You know, like not everybody sees free time and work the same and values them the same. And that's totally your own prerogative. I have very specific views about that, but you might not share that, and that's okay. If you do share those same values as the voice in your head, then I would look into ordering your hobbies and your free time after you feel like you've had a productive day. So after you feel like you've gotten all the things checked off of your list, after you feel like you've run errands, after you feel like you've done all the work that you needed to do. Sometimes you just need to get all of the stuff done for the day for you to feel like, I deserve this. And I personally think that's something that should be unlearned. I think that the notion that free time is earned is not a very healthy one, and I think it's one that is informed by our capitalistic society that values the hours that we can work and produce money and value and income than it values our ability to just like live life. However, if that's a notion that you do value and hold on to, then I think that that is just the way that you might have to structure things. And I think then you will feel a little bit more comfortable having that time at the end of the day after you've done all your things. And then maybe you even do a to-do list for the next day so that those next things aren't sitting on your mind. And then if you decide that you do not hold those same values and you're like, hell no, I deserve free time, I deserve rest. I exist on this world to enjoy myself. I don't exist to provide profit to another person. I don't exist to work myself to the bone, whatever. I don't dream of labor. Like, if that is you, then there's a lot of self-reflection to be had and a lot of just processing emotions. You're going to start the hobby time and you're going to have those voices come and you're going to hear them. And what you're going to do is stop, let them slide past your consciousness. You hear them, you're acknowledging them, and then you're pushing it out and you're saying, that's not true. That's not true. You're acknowledging it and then you're letting it pass. Our thoughts are just thoughts. They're not true. They're not real. They don't mean anything for who we are, for the actions that we do. Thoughts are just thoughts. They're coming from external sources in life, from upbringing, from society, whatever. They're just thoughts. Thoughts aren't you. Thoughts aren't something you have to internalize. So you have that thought and you go, well, I don't agree with that. And then you shove it out the window. And after time and time and time and time and time again of doing that, you don't have the thoughts anymore. They don't exist. And that's speaking from personal experience. They just stop coming because you've unlearned that thought. You've unlearned that idea, and it's just no longer something that pops up. If you need to like journal about it every now and then to help kind of expedite the process, then that helps too. But at the end of the day, it's just really honing in on what you value and what you believe, and trashing everything else. Any other conflicting idea with your values and your idea of hobby time and rest, get rid of it. Everything else, just get rid of it. But it does take a lot of self-awareness. It does take a lot of self-awareness and a lot of reflection and a lot of willingness to unlearn things. And it's hard. It's hard because we are constantly told that personal time is a waste of time, because that's the society we live in. But it's not a waste of time. It is productive to have hobby time because it's pouring back into yourself. That's productive. You can be a well-functioning human in the rest of your life because you're pouring back into yourself, because you're being productive by giving yourself rest. So a similar question was like, how do you not feel like hobbies are just another task on your to-do list? It's a similar thing. It's a similar thing, like absolutely acknowledging whatever thoughts are coming in and blocking them out and unlearning them. But also sometimes we can put so much pressure on our rest time because we only have so much, and we're like, especially if you are a 9-to-5er and you truly do not have that much time that you own yourself. If you feel that pressure of like, I only have this small amount of time of free time and I feel like I have to do these hobbies that I set out to do, you don't. Listen to your heart. Listen to yourself. Maybe do a little journaling, like a quick journal of like, what do I actually feel like doing? Do I feel like doing this right now? You can even just do it in your head. What do I feel like doing? Do I actually want to start a new hobby right now? Or is that going to be too much brain power? Am I feeling a little brain off today? Okay, maybe I don't want to do that. So what do I want to do? And just like think about it. Don't put pressure on yourself to do anything that you don't want to. Do not put stress behind hobbies. Hobbies exist to have fun. I say the same thing all the time. I'm a broken record. Hobbies exist to have fun and take pressure off of yourself. If that is not the purpose they're serving, don't do that. Don't force yourself to do it. Don't force yourself to do it. It's just not the time. It's not the time. Sometimes you'll be in the headspace for it. Sometimes you won't. If you are looking at your scheduled hobby time as a obligation and you're like rolling your eyes and you're like, ugh, don't do it. Take it off. Maybe find another hobby that doesn't make you feel that way. It's okay if you don't feel the same about your hobbies every single day. You won't. Sometimes I look at gaming and I'm like, that sounds like work right now. It feels like I would have to clock in to like check out my Stardew farm, you know? And that's fine. It's just, you're not gonna feel the same way about hobbies every day. Jump around. That's why I like having so many different hobbies, because they all make me feel a different thing different days. Sometimes coloring sounds like the last thing I want to do, and that's okay. You have to be patient with yourself. You have to listen to yourself, and do not put shame around not wanting to do something. That's just, our feelings are fleeting. The inputs we have throughout the day change how we feel. You're not always gonna want to do the same thing every day, and that's okay. Okay. I'm a broken record. Okay, so the next category is mind and mental health. What's a philosophy you live by to get through hard times? I would say something along the lines of like, the feeling won't last forever. Like, it just won't last forever. It won't. We're humans. We're resilient beings. We have a lot of control over our lives in some ways, and in some ways we don't. When I'm feeling really low, I always take comfort in knowing that it'll pass. I never take on a feeling as my identity, ever. I don't internalize something I'm feeling as who I am and as a permanent fixture of my life. Even in my lowest mental health moments, I constantly was telling myself like, this will pass, this will pass, this will pass. And like, this is just a blip. It's just a blip. We'll get through this. And it's like telling yourself it's an inevitable that you'll get through it. Because I think when you take it on as like who you are, like this is just who I am and this is who I always will be, it's so much harder to crawl out of. This does not apply to everybody, obviously. Everybody's situation is different. But for me, I feel like my feelings and my struggles don't define me. And I know that's like the corniest, stupidest thing ever to say. But when you let your feelings define you, it just makes it so much harder to come out of it. It's like I've talked about before how I used to always say I'm not an active person, like I'm not a person who works out, that's just not who I am. And it's like you never will be if you keep telling yourself that. And so I had to stop doing that. I had to stop telling myself the story that I was not an active person and I was not a person who worked out. And look at me now. I'm somebody who like consistently works out because I stopped telling myself that story. So I think when you believe that something is truly not who you are and like like not going to permanently affect you and really believe it to your core, I think it really goes a long way. It really helps, and it's really gotten me through a lot of hard times because I'm just able to see the other end of it. Like I said, it's different for everybody. That's, for some people, that is truly impossible. Like truly, it's impossible. I think if you do challenge yourself to that, I think it really does help if you're able to. Do you believe in manifestation? I believe in it in the sense that like it's cementing what you want out of life in your subconscious so that when you go about your tasks in life, you are subconsciously working towards those wishes. I think I see it less as like a magical thing that you're like telling the universe and the universe is responding back. I don't see it that way. I think it's just like the power of suggestion and like subconscious mindfulness, really. And I think people underestimate the power of our subconscious. So yeah. Avoiding procrastination. Whew, I think it is finding the root of it. 100% finding the root of it. For me, procrastination has been different for different reasons in my life. The main umbrella reason for it is perfectionism. I'm a perfectionist, and I don't say that in a positive way. Truly derogatory. Perfectionist. Like, perfectionism comes from sense of control, needing to have control over a situation. For me, procrastination comes from perfectionism at its worst, when I want to do something perfectly so bad that I don't even start. I don't even start because I'm so scared that I'm gonna mess it up. And then another time in my life, this was when I was working in law, I would procrastinate because I had imposter syndrome. And so I felt like I was so stupid and I wasn't able to figure things out, and I didn't even know where to look for certain information. And so instead of asking for help, instead of diving into research and just figuring out what I didn't know, I just didn't start. Because I was scared of being confronted with the idea that I was right about myself and that I didn't belong there and I wasn't smart enough to be there. It might look different for you at different times, but definitely acknowledge what it is, reflect whether you need to journal or whatever, or talk about it with a therapist, reflect on like how that is not true or how you can kind of release the grasp of that. It really helps. It really helps to just get started. And then also I think there's the 5-minute rule, where if you just start for 5 minutes, it takes all of that away. A lot of the time with procrastination, it's just that getting started. It's just the getting started. Like if I had just opened up Google and typed in my question that I had, I would have went on a roll. I would have hyperfixated and finished the task, but I just couldn't even do that because of the fear. The fear was crippling. So reflect emotionally, and then also just like start, just do a 5 minutes, set a 5-minute timer, 10-minute timer, whatever works for you, and just start. And then a lot of the times the ball will get rolling. What keeps you going on bad mental health days? This is similar to what I said earlier, but just the knowing, the truly believing and knowing that it's not going to last forever, and that it is okay to have lower moments. Like I said, I'm like at the happiest I've been in my life right now. I still have really bad days. Like I can have a really, really, really bad day amidst some of my best days, and I don't beat myself up for it. The worst thing you could do is blame yourself for it. The negative self-talk needs to end. Okay, we need to put an end to the negative self-talk. I know that's easier said than done, but like you should never be speaking negatively to yourself in your head. Never, 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 never. You should be your own biggest cheerleader. You should be your own biggest believer. You should be your own biggest supporter. You should be your own biggest pep talker, your own best friend. Like in your head, you have so much control over your thoughts and your actions and your feelings because of how you speak to yourself. And if the world is speaking to yourself negatively, because it will, because it does, the world is speaking to yourself negatively, the world is teaching you to internalize negative things, the only thing you have control over is your thoughts. If you are mean to yourself in your head, you've got no chance. Oh my God, bestie. What chance have you got when you have the whole world speaking negatively to you and then you're also mean to yourself? No, we're not doing that, okay? We're stopping that today. And it's going to be a long process to stop that, but we're starting that process today, okay? Every time you have a negative thought about yourself, I want you to then combat it with a positive thought. Or I want you to just say, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true is your best friend. The thought is not true just because you have it. If you need to do inner child work and imagine that who you're talking to in your head is you as a child, or if it's hard to visualize yourself, just another little child, imagine that if you need to. But either way, do not speak negatively. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. I won't have it. All that to say, it will make you feel worse if you have a bad mental health day, and then you're also beating yourself up about that. Like, the best thing you could do is say, hey, it's okay. It's okay. Treat yourself like you would treat somebody else. Like, it is okay. okay, that you're having a bad day. It's not going to last. It's just one day. What can we do to make you feel better? What can we do to make ourselves feel better? Can we make ourselves some tea? Can we put on our favorite show? I'm gonna start crying. But like, if you imagine yourself as a little kid who's having a bad day, and if growing up someone told you like, suck it up, if you were taught that having a bad day was an inconvenience, having negative feelings is an inconvenience, we gotta unlearn that. We gotta unlearn that. So instead, see that little kid in you and say, what can we do? What can we do for her? What can we do for them? What can we do for him? Like, where do you want to go? Would it help to go outside? Would it help to have a snack? Just really talk to yourself. You can talk to yourself out loud. You can talk to yourself in your head. You can journal it. Whatever you do, do not beat yourself up about having a bad day. It's not your fault. It's not in your control. And it's not forever. It's not permanent. Okay. Okay. Any cozy habits to battle sad as the cold months approach? And that's seasonal affective disorder. Whoo boy, do I relate to that. Oh my God. I am like fearful for the sad months whenever they come. Cozy habits, I would say heavily lean on your comforts. Lean on your comforts. Have your comfort shows ready to go. Have your comfort movies ready to go. Have your comfort snacks ready to go. And like unabashedly indulge in them over and over and over and over again. I have Gilmore Girls on repeat forever and ever and ever and ever. Like, I don't care. I've had roommates like make fun of me for it and be like, this again? I feel like you just watched this. And it's like, yeah, I'm watching it over and over and over whenever I cannot see the sun. Okay? It will be playing because it makes me happy. Unabashedly indulge in your simple comforts. Just hibernate. What do bears do? They create their little caves. They put all their things that they need and they eat a bunch. They get cozy and they hibernate. That's what we need to do. We're not built to not see the sun. So again, we should not beat ourselves up and we shouldn't feel like bad about not feeling good. It's just our brains. It's our brains. It's not us. It's our brains. So we just need to tend to our brains like a delicate little baby, like a bratty plant that needs extra TLC. That's just what we are in the sad months. Pointers for finding and regaining strong passions after stress. I had to do this for sure after my burnout period. I would say start slow. Start slow. Don't force yourself. Don't like try and dive in too quickly and then like be upset with yourself when you can't get back into it. Start so slow. Start with like 15 minutes one day a week. That's it. And then just like work your way up until it feels comfortable again, because your body's just like getting out of a fight or flight mode. Your body takes so long to heal from burnout. It could take years and years to heal from a burnout period or a stress period. Your body's still learning that you are not in danger, and it's really hard to engage in the things that used to make us happy because our body's like, no, we can't calm down. We can't chill out. We're in danger. And you have to like get your body used to the fact that you're not in danger. So start slow and maybe try new things too. Like, it might take a while to get the old things feeling normal again, but maybe try some new things. Novelty also can help a lot. How much time do you devote to rest and hobbies each week or day? I think this is another important question because I get asked this a lot. I get asked like, so how much time do you spend? Because I feel like I don't have enough time in the day. At a minimum, an hour each day. And I think realistically that ends up looking like every other day, because even if I have that hour set aside for something like I consider a hobby, I don't always get to it. Sometimes I'm like, you know what, I don't feel like doing that, and instead I'm just gonna like watch the show, which even watching a show can be a hobby. Watching films and shows, that can be a hobby too. But for me, I don't really consider that a hobby, and sometimes I'm like, okay, I just want to do this instead of doing a hobby, and that's okay. So I would say minimum an hour. Sometimes that ends up being like 7 after work, after dinner. Call Alyssa and we get on Baldur's Gate and we're playing for like 3 hours instead of 1 hour. But at a minimum, my goal is an hour. It looks different all the time. It's not regimented because then it's not fun. How do you stay so positive? This was a question I got in like a couple different ways. An interesting like nature versus nurture thing, because I truly have always been a very glass half full positive person. I've always been skeptical and a realist, but I've always been positive and I've always tried to spin something into a positive light. And I think that's a good way to be, because there's no harm in it. Like, even when I'm like interpreting comments that people say, when I interpret it in a positive way, which I do naturally, it's so much better for my mental health than if I were to interpret everything negatively. When I assume positive intent, it's just so much more enjoyable. And like, same with when I was working, when I assumed positive intent and I wasn't like, they hate me, they're gonna fire me, I'm in trouble. It's just so much easier to navigate life that way. And I think maybe that came from from, again, from a really young age, having to reject external negativities and force almost like a positive narrative within myself to just survive, almost as a coping mechanism. I have a friend in content who will like send me a screenshot and be like, what's this comment about? And I'm like, oh, I interpreted that this way. And they're like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. I interpreted it negatively. And I'm like, oh, I don't think they meant it that way. I think it's a good way to be, guys. I don't know, maybe I'm biased, but I think it's a good way to be. When did you decide you needed to work on little you? Oh my God, this question almost broke me. I think when I got older and realized I was self-sabotaging in various ways, i.e. not attracting healthy romantic relationships or friendships, i.e. being a workaholic, different things like that made me realize I had things to unpack. I had things to unlearn about myself, about the world around me, about what I deserved. All of those things, at the root of it is your inner child. What you feel you deserve, what you feel like you need to prove, what you feel like you need to be validated for, at the root of that all is your inner child. And so when I found myself running into conflicts around those things, I knew it was time to heal the little me. And it's been such a journey. It's been such a good journey, like hard journey, but good and healing. And I think if you feel like you keep running into the same cycles of toxicity, either in relationships and friendships and work, personal self-talk, and you haven't found a way to break out of them, I think it might be time to look inward, look at that inner child, see if they might need a little work. What emotions are hardest to feel and what do you practice to make space for them? Great question. That's such a good question. I would say in my past, rejection. Oh my gosh, rejection, especially for anything that had to do with work or success or like intelligence. Oh my God, rejection was so hard for me. I had like, I think there's like an actual term for it, like rejection sensitivity. So bad to the point where like if I got comments on a paper, I could not read it unless I got an A and I knew it was going to be positive. I just couldn't, I wouldn't read it. This was in like law school, because in college, well, no, because I had it in college too, because I was crying about that damn paper. I definitely had rejection sensitivity in college, but I was more ready to confront it because I knew I had specific goals I wanted to achieve and I had to confront it to get there. But in law school, I was just so checked out because I was a little bit burnt out from undergrad that like if I got negative comments on a paper or anything, I just didn't look at it. I literally didn't look. It's so bad. It was so bad. It was so self-sabotaging. But rejection was so hard for me that like I just could not be confronted with the fact that like I didn't do something perfectly or well. I think I learned to deal with that when I was finally practicing law, and I had to learn, like I was constantly dealing with rejection. It's not really rejection. It's just like criticism and constructive criticism. But in my head that it's rejection, I had to deal with that so much because it's like the only way you learn is like, no, this is wrong. You have to do it this way. I became a little bit desensitized to it and realized that it was just part of the process and it had nothing to do with me and my worth as a person or my intelligence. And yeah, it was difficult to learn, but I eventually got past that. So first, rejection. Now I think my sensitivity, my hardest emotion to deal with is like not feeling like a good person or feeling like a bad person, feeling like called out. I get so anxious. Like sometimes I'll open YouTube comments and my heart is beating. Like I can feel, it doesn't quite get to like anxiety, but I can just feel like the sweat in the, like my heartbeat is bumping because I'm just so fearful. I mean, I guess in a way that's still rejection sensitivity, but I just am concerned for people like having a view about me that isn't what I feel like aligns with who I am. Yeah, that's kind of the hardest issue I have to deal with now, but I have learned to really find value in confronting that because it teaches me about myself. Like it truly teaches me what are my biggest sensitivities, because like I'll have reactions to some comments that are so strong and it teaches me something about myself every time, because it's like, why was my reaction so strong to that but like not to this? It really makes me unpack certain things and be like, what do you think this comment is telling you about yourself? Like where's the cognitive dissonance in your head here where like you think you're this kind of person but this person thinks you're this kind of person, and like, is it true? Like, do you need to unpack that and see if it's true? And like, are you getting so emotional about it because you know that deep down that it's true and it's something you need to work on? Which is like often the case. I think the things that I get the most worked up about, it's because deep down I know I need to like work on that. Like it's something that I genuinely need to work on and it's a reality that I needed to be confronted with. And then the things that like don't bother me and I could just laugh at are things that I know are not true about myself. And so I think it's definitely like a hard emotion to deal with, but I think it's important to confront stuff like that. Whenever you feel the most triggered and the most emotional, those are the moments you can learn the most about yourself, I think. And the last question in mental health is one of the most asked questions. How do you make time for hobbies and rest without feeling guilty? This is, I mean, it's very similar to what we talked about already with like having that conversation of like, who's making you feel guilty? Who's the voice in your head? Why are they telling that? But I also think there's an element to this guilt that we just all need to unpack. We all need to unpack the guilt, because I think there can be both guilt in doing a hobby and not doing a hobby. And I think we need to shed any of the guilt that is wrapped around something that is truly just meant to bring us happiness. Whenever there's shame and guilt around either doing a hobby or not doing a hobby, it's completely shrouding something that like has such a positive, wholesome purpose. It's shrouding it in all of these external expectations and these external notions of productivity and how we should be spending our time. And it just makes me so sad. And I think people do this a lot where they get a hobby, they're like, I'm gonna get into this, and then they don't get into it, and then they feel shame around it. And then because they feel shame around it, they never go back to it. Versus if you release that shame, you release that guilt, like do not associate shame and guilt with a hobby at all. Whenever you feel that, just be like, that's silly. That's silly. That's not true. That's not what I say before. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Whenever there's shame or guilt around a hobby, release it, because then it's so much easier to get back into it. When you have the shame and guilt around it, it stops you from going back to it, because you're like, I'm just not the kind of person that does that hobby. I'm just not that kind of person, and I'm a fraud. I'm somebody who doesn't do hobbies that they finish. And you create this story about yourself and you believe it when you don't have to do all of that. You can just say, I didn't feel like doing that for a really long time, huh? Okay, well, let's give it another go. Let's try it. When you don't have that shame and guilt shrouding it, it's so much easier to give yourself that grace and hop back into things. But how do we not feel guilt about actually doing the hobby is the same process as what we talked about before, which is who's telling you to feel guilty and why do you feel guilty? Where is it coming from? Is it true? No, it's not true. You're not lazy. You're not selfish. You're pouring back into yourself. You're creating time for yourself. It's not true. I'm lazy. That's not true. I'm selfish. That's not true. I should be doing this. That's not true. Okay? We're unlearning these beliefs. Our value in society, our value in our family unit, our value to our friends, our value to ourselves is not only based in things that create profit, in things that are chore based, in things that are social based, in things that are productive in the definition that society has given us that is productive. There is value in having time to yourself and doing things for yourself. It is productive to do things for yourself. Just because you exist on this earth, and you should be able to do that. You should have that time for yourself. You do not have to toil away all the time. That's not what life is about. Toiling. We shan't toil. What kind of life is that? If you were on your deathbed and you look back on your life, would you say, thank God I was toiling 24/7? Thank God I never took time for myself and all I did was do things for other people and upkeep my societal role of a social servant? No! You would look back and say, thank God I spent those days on myself. Oh my God, I remember the day I went out and had a picnic just for me. I remember the day I started my coloring hobby just for me. You would take those with you in your deathbed. You would not take the toiling with you. How can you structure your life so that you do feel like you are honoring the needs of the people around you and the needs of your notions of productivity, but you are still also honoring yourself and pouring back into yourself? You've got options. Okay, we've got general life. There's so many questions, you guys. What's one thing in your routine you couldn't live without? I would say like my planner. And this is not a plug. My planner, either digital or my physical one. My planner, I can't live without. That's like my go-to. It's my second brain so that I don't have to constantly be thinking about what I have to do. It's all there. And then I could just look to it whenever I'm getting distracted, sidetracked. I just look to it. I'm good to go. Definitely my planner. Are you in a relationship? Yes. We've been together for over 2 years now. And if you've been watching me for a long, long time, you knew me before I even met Ryan. You knew me when I first started talking about Ryan. And that's so cute to me. I've known some of you longer than I've known Ryan. Who do you live with? I live with Ryan, my boyfriend, and Maya, who is my best friend for 10 years now. I met Maya the first day at Howard University. Yeah, we've been friends ever since. Maya actually didn't stay at Howard. They only went to the first year, and then we stayed friends however many years later. We were the same person. We're literally the same person. So it was like soulmate kind of friendship. And then Ryan I met on Hinge. So I was like heavy on the dating apps, not all of them, just Hinge. Because I had met my 2 prior partners who were like long-term relationships on dating apps. So I was like a full believer in dating apps, and I still am. Why? This is such an ask question. Why don't you show your boyfriend's full face? And honestly, the reason has evolved over time. At first, and I talked about this in a really old vlog, at first it was because he was like new, and he was like a new character in life and in my content, and I didn't know like how long we would last. Like obviously I hoped that we would be together for a while, but I don't know, like who knows? So that was the initial reason. And now I think it's kind of in this place where I've gotten so comfortable with where my relationship is online, and I just feel very comfortable with the boundaries we've all created in this studio here today. I think when you introduce somebody's like full self and their full person and their full face, then people get attached. Like it's just gonna happen, and people feel like they then have like a say, or like they want to kind of pick things apart, and people just don't really do that with friendships or like family members as much. People really just love to do that with romantic relationships, and that has not happened to me, but I've seen it happen nonstop to other creators, and I think I'm just happier with it where it is right now. And I think you guys can see enough of Ryan's personality. Like he's not a person where it's like I'm too cool for school to be on camera. Like he's not, obviously not like that. He's goofy and fun, and like you guys can still see his personality without showing his face. I think having that boundary keeps it cute, okay? And like whenever I'm out and about, like if I run into people who recognize me, I'm like, this is Ryan. Like I'm not secretive about who he is in real life. And I'm so happy that y'all accept that and I understand that. And I totally understand the like interest too and the intrigue, but I promise there's nothing intriguing about it. Like there's no, it's not like I'm so secret and like, no, it's not. And then the other question is like, will that ever change? Does he not like being on camera? Like I said, no, it's not that he doesn't love being on camera, and I don't know, maybe it'll change. Like I've said I would never do content full time, and here I am doing content full time. Like I change my mind all the time. I'm someone who's very open to changing my mind. I'm stubborn in a lot of ways, but not when it comes to changing my mind. I'm always open to learning and changing, but not anytime soon. Not anytime soon. Also, if Ryan was ever like, babe, I really want to be on camera, I would be like, okay, yeah, let's do that, you know? Like I would never be like, no, it's my rules. We shall see. Is it annoying to live with your boyfriend sometimes? This is so funny. I think anything is communicated before it gets to the point of annoyance. I can think of one exact time I've been annoyed, and it was because I was like so low battery, so low social battery, that I was like, even you, it's never you never count for the social battery, but right now my social battery is so low that even you, I just need a second. But usually we are able to communicate to each other like, hey babe, I just need time. I need alone time. And so it never gets to the point of annoyance for me, which is really good. But again, that comes with lots of communication. And a partner who doesn't have insecurities that they make your problem, like a partner who is able to not take that personally and be able to be like, okay, cool, well, I'll go do my own thing. Because I've had a lot of partners in the past where they would 100% take that personally, and it would be a problem, and it would be a fight. And then instead of having personal time, I'm fighting. And that just doesn't happen. So it's definitely partner-based, but also communication-based. How to make friends after college? Oh, it definitely takes effort. It takes a lot of effort, but I would say go where your interests are. Go where your interests are. Do a pottery class. Do a D&D local library class, community center class. Go to the library. Go to coffee shops that have the same vibe as you. Go to public events. Go to run clubs. Like go to where your interests are to find people that are like you. It took me a while to get to that point because I think I've talked about this before, but I am a very like warm and friendly person, and I love people, but close friendships do not come easily to me. It takes a lot of trust. So I've had to loosen the reins on that since moving here and trying to meet new people, and it's really paid off. So I would say definitely loosen the reins on like your control and your trust issues if you have them. Open your heart a little bit. Be curious about people too. Like I have always just been genuinely curious about other people, no matter what their background, no matter what their beliefs, no matter whatever. I've just been curious about people, and I love just like chit-chatting and asking people about their lives. So I would say that definitely helps in making friends, because if you're at an event or at something, like just be curious about people and try and spark conversation through that curiosity, because it's a good conversation starter to just be like, Okay, I want to know everything about you. What's your deal, man? You know? How's the move to LA been? It's been amazing. I love it. I mean, I grew up in Southern California and I grew up coming to LA, so I had familiarity with it, but I had never lived in LA proper. I really love it. I think I would definitely love to move out to a suburb eventually because I'm a suburb girl. And I like my space. I like my parking lots. Someone said how to start dating and not meet idiots. You're gonna meet idiots. You have to weed through them. You gotta weed through the idiots. And then sometimes you'll meet someone who you think is not an idiot. You devote time and effort and you start to become attached to them, and then they reveal themselves to be an idiot. And then you have to unattach your heart and your time, and you have to uncurl yourself from this person, and it can be really hard, but you have to. At the first red flag, you have to. Because then the quicker you do, the quicker you'll find the person you're supposed to be with and not the idiots, okay? You're gonna find idiots. You're gonna find mostly idiots. But you'll find the one eventually. So many questions about the cats. So many questions about the cats. The cats. Chilaquiles is almost 4. We got him in November of 2020. I got him with a past partner. When we moved apart, I was like, let's talk cats. And he was like, you can have him. I was like, okay. His name is Chilaquiles because that is my favorite breakfast food. I love chilaquiles. He's the best. He's a little shit. He's a little shit, but he's the best. Does spite pee. And we joke about him peeing a lot, and people are like, why does he pee so much? I'm like, he doesn't. He really doesn't. We just joke about it because he's peed a couple times on things out of spite. And so now we just joke. It's like his personality trait that we joke about. And then Azula is Maya's cat. So Chilaquiles is my cat. Azula is Maya's cat. Maya got Azula. Oh, I actually don't remember, but I think Azula is like 2 years old. They're both shelter babies, of course. Azula does not like treats. Chila loves treats. Azula likes playing with toys. So does Sheila, but Azula's a little more toy focused. Yeah, that's my boy and my girl. And Azula loves Ryan. Fully, Ryan is Azula's dad. We've just all accepted that. How many long distance friends have you made online? Literally more than I can count. One of my best friends, Alyssa, was an online friend for like 4 years. I went to a wedding of someone who started as a community member, and then we became online friends, and I went to her wedding. I've just met like so many lifelong friends. Eddie, who's my editor, actually Eddie's not editing this one, but Eddie, who's my editor, was an online, like very close online friend. Yeah, I've just had so many very important lifelong friends from my online friendships, and I value them just as much as my in-person friendships. If you want to make online friends, I would suggest Discords and like communities, either around a creator you like or around a topic you like. We have like a D&D campaign going on in our Discord right now. We have community games, we have book clubs, like we have a lot in our Discord where people can just like meet and hopefully be friends. That's where I met my friends, so. Faith or spiritual practice, I kind of spoke to this, but I'm very agnostic to all faith and spirituality. I didn't grow up religious at all. Neither of my parents were religious. Grew up around it though. I grew up around Christianity, specifically Catholicism, because I went to the Catholic school. I know a lot about Catholicism, but I have just chosen a path of like, we know nothing and that's okay. I'm very at peace with that. I find meaning in life and guidance for my morality within myself and my heart. I'm very big on respecting everybody's unique choices in that regard and not pushing perspectives or judging anyone else for what they believe. Okay, the really nosy questions that I love. I love nosy questions. Marriage, kids, question mark. Legal marriage is a no for me. Since I was a kid, since I was a little girl, I always just like had beef with traditional things. I don't know why. That was the kind of kid I was, I guess. Never really grew out of that. The specific contract of marriage, is personally not for me. I love it for other people. I would just implore you to like look into the marriage contracts in your state and just make sure you know what you're signing. That is just among one of many reasons I just personally don't want to get married. I love other people's marriages. I love going to weddings. I love all that. I'm not like a just contrarian. I hate all this. I'm not like that. It's just a personal choice. I am happy with like an informal commitment situation, like commitment ceremony and stuff like that. But just my personal preference to not like enter into a marriage contract with somebody. And that's it. And then kids, no. I do not want kids. The next question is, what was deciding to be child-free like, and how did it go for your family? It was definitely always something I knew in my heart, but I didn't feel like I could put a definitive choice to it until I think after my frontal lobe developed and I was like No, I'm an adult now. I can say that I don't want this. I think thinking about motherhood always felt like wearing a mask, like kind of going along with social norms and the way that people would talk about wanting to be a mother and talk about motherhood and talk about like, I have the names for my future kids in my phone. I just never related to. That's never something I wanted for myself. I don't see children fitting into my life at all. I don't want that. I'm very happy with my life and all of the freedom that I have, and obviously you still have freedom as a parent, but I like the very specific freedoms that I do have. There's a lot of reasons. I won't get into every single one, but just know that this has been like a long thought out thing ever since I was a kid. Through every year of my life, I'm constantly reevaluating. And I think I finally, in my late 20s, have gotten to the point where I don't feel like I have to constantly reevaluate. And I just trust that I know I don't feel called to be a mother. And I think it's irresponsible when you don't feel called to be a mother to try and just be a mom because other people want you to, or you feel like that's the path that everyone should take. I just find joy and purpose in so many other aspects of life, in my friends, in my family. I like having the financial freedom to be able to support friends and family if needed, and it doesn't have to go to children. And there are so many good reasons why people want to have children, and I respect their reasons. And same with marriage, I'm happy for other people who want kids. I can't wait till my friends have kids and I could spoil them. I think all of the arguments that people try and pummel you with when you are a person with a uterus saying I don't want kids, none of them have appealed to me. And it's so discrediting to the mothers who have kids for good reasons. How did it go for your family? It took a long time, I think. It took a long time, which I think makes sense. I've come to the understanding that my mom, still saw me as a child. And because she still saw me as a child, she still saw my worldview as malleable and flexible and would tell me as such, would say, you're going to change your mind, and still kind of pressure in different ways of where, well, I want grandchildren, and when I have grandchildren, and, I'm not going to be around, so the grandchildren, and it's I had to have a lot of stern boundary setting and a lot of you got to stop. It's not going to happen. And I think now that my mom does see me more as an adult, that doesn't happen anymore. I think it's okay, she means it. And I'll respect that. I appreciate that it's respected now, because a lot of people don't have that privilege. A lot of people have parents that still, till they're on their deathbed, are where's my grandchildren? I'm very lucky that I have an understanding family in that regard. And also I think we just we're a family that values each other a lot. We're very happy with what we have. We don't want for a lot, so we're very thankful for the dynamic we have. How to stop yourself from falling out of a routine. I struggle with sticking to one. Know that it's okay. I am a chronic routine struggler. I don't have a routine. I just don't. No matter how many times I write out a routine and try and get it to work, it just doesn't happen. And I think that's okay. I think some seasons of our life allow for a routine more than other seasons of our life. Sometimes our brains just don't want that. And that's okay. It's okay. I would say creating a set of different routines for different days absolutely helps. So if you have a routine for a low energy day, routine for high energy, routine for when you want to do movement in the morning, routine for when you want to do movement at night, routine for when you want to do work first thing in the morning, routine for when you want to wait to do work. Just make a routine for everything so that you can fall back on those when you wake up and you're what kind of day is it? That kind of helps, but for me, I have a loose list of things to do, but I still don't have a set routine, And that's okay. I think that's okay. Okay, the next category is style and things. Style and thing. What is the key to having aesthetic? I think listening to yourself and knowing yourself. I don't think it's trying to achieve something specific and something exactly to a T. I think it's just listening to what calls to you specifically. Sometimes that can look a little bit jumbled, and that's okay. But as long as you're looking around at stuff that makes you happy, I think that is how you really create an original aesthetic and not just a replicated aesthetic. Although, who cares? If you want to create a replicated aesthetic, do that. That's fine too. But I would say, if you want an original aesthetic, just listen to what naturally calls to you. And if you need a little help with that, go on Pinterest, curate boards, and then kind of get the vibe of what's calling to you, so then you could go see that in real life. What would you call your aesthetic? I have no idea. Cozy? I think just cozy. Cozy, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I do get asked this a lot. especially on TikTok, and I'm like, I don't know. Some people are like, what aesthetic is this? I'm like, hell if I know. This was a good question. What would a more mask cozy vibe be? I think that's such a good question. I would say earth tones, sweaters, crews. For home stuff, Eric Wang on Instagram has like such a great cozy gender neutral aesthetic in terms of home stuff. Like it could truly work for anybody. So I think that's a good place to start if you want more like mask leaning cozy vibes. Clothes wise, I'm just gonna put up a bunch of pictures that I found on Pinterest, but Pinterest is a great place to go. And then I plucked out the ones that I thought had the best vibe. But yeah, just a lot of sweaters, a lot of neutrals, very minimal, but still intentional and cozy. I think there's some aesthetics it's a little harder to do, but cozy I think is one of those you can really pull together in a mask vibe. Tips for decorating a new place. Use discrete Pinterest boards. So use Pinterest boards for something so specific. Like if you have a dresser top that you need to decorate, just make a Pinterest board for the top of the dresser. Find inspiration for tops of a dresser. Make discrete boards for every single possible area, and then you can kind of pull together a greater idea of what you want it to look like. But yeah, Pinterest boards, man. Pinterest, Pinterest, Pinterest. It can get very overwhelming to try and like plan out an entire house aesthetic. Start small and then go from there. Favorite shows to binge? Absolutely Gilmore Girls. But I would say I also love binging like reality dating shows. We binged Vanderpump this year. Phenomenal. I loved Love Island. We binged that too. But Gilmore Girls, classic. I'm gonna take a little break, get some snacks and drinks. I feel like I'm gonna pass out because the AC is still not working and it's a little crazy in here. It's getting hotter and hotter. I'm gonna color a little bit more. I'm gonna come back with creator tips, creator life stuff, and then we're ending with lighthearted questions. Okay, y'all, we're back from our break and we finished the coloring page. I love it so much. It's so cute. Okay, the last two categories are creator life and then creator tips. So if you are not interested in any of these things, skip to the lighthearted questions at the end. We'll see you there. Okay, but let's start with creator life. This is gonna be kind of a chunky one. Are you a full-time content creator or do you do something else too? I am full-time as of November 30th of 2022. That was the last day of my work at my law firm as a lawyer, corporate startup lawyer. What was your journey becoming a creator? And did you know right away what you wanted your content to be about? Yes, I did. My username was always cozy.games, and I always wanted to talk about games that made me feel cozy because that was my escape from life and from school. I started it when I was in law school. I just loved how games made me feel cozy, and so that's why my name was CozyGames, because it was games that made me feel cozy. I started in my second year of law school when I was using gaming as a stress relief, and I started an Instagram account. That's where I started. Reels did not exist. It was not that. It was just pictures. We were just posting pictures. So I do like flat lays of my Switch and what game I was playing, and then like a little blurb about what I thought of the game or just like a life update. It was very much a very small community of casual gamers. A lot of them were women, and we all had our different little aesthetic of, it wasn't called cozy gaming at the time, but just gaming and casual gaming. It was so tiny, and we would all just post little like flat lays and game reviews. Things were definitely not as advanced as they were now, but it was so wholesome. It was such a good time. Then TikTok came around. It kind of started to pop off, and so I was like, I'm not seeing anyone do gaming over on TikTok that isn't just like the quintessential gamer girl aesthetic, you know, that isn't like pink and cat ears and neon and things like that. And that's cute. That's very cute. I love those kinds of gamer girlies, but I wasn't seeing anything that looked like how I approach gaming. So I was like, I feel like there's a niche here that isn't being tapped into. So I think the first video I made was like, where are my people who like games that make them feel cozy and warm and safe or something like that? And then that absolutely just blew up. And so from there I started making like cozy gaming content. TikTok was where I like first blew up. Still to this day, I think is my biggest platform. As soon as my TikTok started blowing up, I was like, YouTube channel, now's my time. Because like I grew up on YouTube. I always wanted to do YouTube. I tried to dabble in different ways throughout my life, and just like it never really I couldn't find the thing for me. And finally I was like, I have my thing. I love this thing. Knew I wanted to do YouTube, not just in the gaming niche. I knew I wanted it to be general lifestyle, general coziness. So I created this whole plan, this whole Notion page of like what I wanted my YouTube to look like and what I wanted to focus on. And I think my first video was like my gaming collection, my cozy gaming collection. I would alternate. I would do like a non-gaming thing, and then I do a gaming video, and then I do a non-gaming video, and then a gaming video. Eventually I became kind of disenchanted with talking about cozy games on YouTube for a variety of reasons. Maybe I'll get into a little bit later, but then I just started going into lifestyle stuff because that's what made me the happiest to create on YouTube, and I always just do what makes me happy. I kept doing lifestyle content on YouTube, and that's probably where most of you know me from. And then I started Twitch shortly after YouTube, which was like live streaming, and I was so nervous and I never wanted to do live streaming, and I thought I would be terrible at it. I thought I would hate it, but I just challenged myself to try it, and I tried it and I loved it. And so I've been doing it ever since. I also do Pinterest, which is Pinterest to me it feels more like marketing for your other platforms, but it's necessary marketing, and I spend a lot of time on it because it's very important to do. So those are all my platforms. My journey was that I started it with no expectation of anything. Being a cozy gamer content creator full-time was not a thing. Like, it just wasn't a thing. If you're a gamer girl, there was like a handful of gamer girls that were full-time and could be full-time, and it was like you had to be a streamer basically. That was never in the cards, never in the plans. I just did it because I loved it, and I was sharing the things I loved to talk about. Same with on TikTok, same with on every platform. I only started it because I was like, I love this and it's fun. I guess I should talk about like when and where that all happened. So starting my second year of law school, I would say it was my third year of law school that everything popped off, and luckily I just had so much time in my third year of law school because you really don't do much. Like, you already have your job secured, your grades don't really affect that much, so it's just kind of like a silly extra year. And it was especially silly for us because it was during the lockdown, so we weren't going into class, and so I was just at home and I had a lot of time. Perfect. It was literally perfect timing. Like, the universe really set me up to succeed in that way because I just had so much free time to devote to the front end of the content journey, which is where it's so important to like set up the foundation, set up your work ethic, set up your cadence for posting, learn the basic stuff, like crash courses on everything, on video editing, on scripting, on research, like everything. It also allowed me a lot of time to play a lot of cozy games that gave me the baseline foundational knowledge that I have about cozy games and the industry and all that stuff. Very thankful for that time. That was third year of law school. That was 2020 and 2021. After I graduated law school, you go straight into studying for the bar. So that entire summer after graduating, you're studying for the bar, and then you take the bar at the end of the summer, and then you start your job. And then after you start your job, you figure out if you passed or not. So all throughout that whole summer of studying for the bar, which is like one of the most traumatic, hard things you can do, I was doing all of the same posting schedule. I was like posting on my short form 3 to 4 times a week. I was posting 1 YouTube video a week plus 1 Stardew playthrough a week. And I was editing everything myself then too. Streaming, I think 2 times a week still at that time. It was either 2 or 3 times a week I was streaming, and I was studying for the bar, all because I was so passionate about it. It was so important to me, and I was like, I know I'm gonna make this work. I know I'm gonna make this work. And still at that time, make this work to me just meant like, I am going to succeed in this. I'm going to like reach more people, and I'm going to make a difference. And it was less like, I'm gonna make this work as in I'm gonna make this my full-time job. Took the bar, started my job, still was doing all the same stuff. And I think it was right around when I started my job is when I started making real money from content. And at first I was just representing myself, and I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I was taking the worst deals ever just because I didn't know, and it was like the first time I'd seen money from social media. Terrible deals, like not great pay from companies that had a huge budget, and I just didn't know. And it was like early days of TikTok too, where partnerships there were just so new, so brands were like just getting in where they could and like trying to take advantage of people kind of. And then very shortly after I started work and started making money from content, I got management. So they reached out to me and they were like, we believe in you, we want to represent you. I was like, I'm gonna read this contract so thoroughly. Ever since then, it was like And I think it was just like me continuing to stay consistent. I just stayed consistent. I stayed true to myself, even through working like a job that basically requires you to work like 70 to 80 hour weeks, billable hours. On top of that, I was like, I don't care. I'm going to put my all into every single second outside of work. So I did. Doing that made my content grow and grow and grow on both Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. I was getting more and more and more brand partnerships, and like I think having those brand partnerships under my belt and having kind of that portfolio and having representation, my management team that was able to do all of the admin work of like negotiating and reading contracts and weeding through the emails that I got, all of that used to take so much time from me just creating, and then I could just focus on creating. And so that helped me grow so much. Like I was not paying attention to the money I was making. Just like, let's just grow the platforms, because then I could reach more people past the California bar. Then we're working for 6 months. The income I was making from my content was like, I couldn't ignore it anymore. This is consistently more than I'm making at my full-time job, with me putting only the amount of effort I could put in, which is, I would say, is like a fourth of the effort I'm able to put in now full-time. I was able to put in like a fourth of the effort. So it's like, imagine what I could do if I could devote 4 and a 4, you know? So 6 months in is when I started debating. That's when I started debating. I was like, I feel like I should quit. Because at that time I was super depressed. I was trying to balance both. So eventually after another 6 months of doubling that, basically I was like, okay, so basically I've gone a full year of making more than my current job. I feel comfortable quitting at this point. Like I feel fully comfortable after a year of consistent income from this, more than what I'm currently making. I could do it. Yeah. So that's when I quit. And then January of 2023 was the start of my workaholic year from hell. It was both like one of the best and hardest years of my life, because I was so ecstatic to be full-time working for myself. I was so excited I was able to do that. I felt so lucky. It was like I achieved the goal I didn't realize I wanted the whole time, and it felt really good. But I also, like I said, had a toxic mentality about work, and so I just like spent all of the time I thought I would save only having one job, still overworking myself in the new job. So that was silly of me. What was the point of that? But yeah, so that was all of 2023. Now we're in 2024, and I've learned my lesson. We're like halfway through 2024. I have balance now. I am taking advantage of the very lucky life I lead to be a creator and be able to make my own schedule. I am not taking that for granted, and I am allowing myself balance, and I am very lucky to be able to do that. That is my journey as a creator, and I'm very proud of myself. I will say I'm very proud of how I got here. It was not easy, but also it's like the saying of like, where preparation meets luck, that's where success comes from. Is like, I was lucky that it was like a time in my niche that it was perfect timing for me to be at the forefront of it and like a leader in the space. It was also preparation, because I just was like willing to work my ass off and like sacrifice my mental health and social life to pour my all into it. And so it was like this preparation luck thing, and it was perfect timing. Do you apply things you learned with your law degree with your influencer career now? I would say the main thing is not even a legal thing. It's my work ethic. Like, because I had a corporate 9-to-5, even like law school and studying for the bar was some of the hardest, most disciplined I'd ever have to work and ever have to be. So I absolutely learned how to have a disciplined routine and just like head down and work and get through it. So I was able to apply like that work ethic and the 9-to-5 cadence to my current job. I mean, like, that's what everyone in life has to do. So that's not like, I'm not even patting myself on the back about that. It's just like, yeah, I have had a taste of the real world, and I'm able to apply that to my life. I'm glad I have had that experience. Helps me stay grounded as well, because there are definitely times when I am feeling a little woe is me, and I'm like, oh no, I had to stay up till 12 a.m. to finish a video. And then I'm like, girl, at least you don't have to stay up till 12 a.m. on a financing, on like a high stress $1 billion financing, combing through contracts. That's what I always tell myself. Stand up. Let's reevaluate. What does a typical workday look like for you? What are the behind the scenes? A typical workday looks different for me every day. It kind of feels like you have all this stuff floating and you're kind of like catching different things to see what to prioritize for each day. And I like that because that's how my brain functions, and that's what like helps me be productive is like jumping from something into something. I like to say being a content creator is like a combination of running a small business and being a social media manager. You are the marketing department. You are the business analyst department. You are the financial department, the social media, like I said, department. I'm gonna give you a list, a bullet point list of like the tasks to do. So we have the admin bucket. This is managing email inbox, the usual for, you know, corporate people. Communicating with my management team. So this is like a huge chunk of my time throughout the day. So I hop on Slack and I'm talking with them about brand deals, deliverables, negotiations, pitching, deal insights, contracts, etc., etc. Meetings, balancing books, communicating with independent contractors on tasks and paying them. I have 3 independent contractors for different things. And so I communicate with them regularly and then have payment processes for them and all that. Random business legal stuff I wouldn't even know how to get into the nitty-gritty of. All of the personal life stuff you have to do all of that for business stuff, like insurance stuff, bill stuff, all of that. And then we have content stuff, ideating organic content for the week on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, my main channel and my gaming channel, Twitch, Pinterest. Planning content across all of those same platforms, scripting any script-based content, so like gaming roundups, game reviews, hobby videos, talking head videos. Even a video as simple as this took me almost 6 hours to compile all of the questions and then like make notes on my responses. It's fun though, like it's so fun. Filming content for the week, which I do usually the week of. Sometimes if I know I'm gonna have a busy week, I will try and film some the week before. But that's 3 to 5 short form videos a week, and then 1 to 2 YouTube videos a week. Filming usually takes about 30 minutes to an hour for each video. And then YouTube can take anywhere from 1.5 hours if it's like a short talking head to like 8 hours of compiled film. And then shooting photos also at the same time for Pinterest. Then editing short form content, average of about an hour each, sometimes more, sometimes less. So an average of an hour. Posting and communicating after posting, just like making sure I'm staying on and like communicating with y'all in the comments. About an hour for each video for that whole process. Processing YouTube footage and delivering to Eddie, the editor. Filming gaming channel video usually takes about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. Editing Eddie's cut of my YouTube videos. So without Eddie, me editing my YouTube videos used to take like anywhere from 20 to 40 hours a week, which was why my work-life balance was absolute poo-poo doo-doo. And now it takes anywhere from like 5 to 10 hours. Unless I end up editing the full video for whatever reason. Sometimes I'll just decide to, like this one or like the London one. I just wanted creative control over it. If you're ever curious if I alone edited it or Eddie helped with it, I always put the credits in the description. And then I have to edit my brother's cut of my YouTube gaming channel video. So that's like 3 to 4 hours. They're more simple than vlogs. It's just like straight up gameplay, but still require like diligent editing. Designing and creating thumbnails for videos on both of my channels each week. Finalizing and posting YouTube videos. Anyone who's done it knows how annoyingly long that is. Affiliate content commitments that take about 3 hours a week. I don't even know how to describe that. It's like UGC content, but not. But I have a reoccurring like contract with a brand where I do like 10 videos for like a specific fee for something. And then random other tasks like formatting cards, uploading files to the cloud and hard drives, and just like all of that time consuming but background stuff. Okay, next we're in marketing and branding stuff. Compiling photos and videos each week for content for Pinterest posting. Creating graphics for affiliate sites. That's like in Canva, I create graphics of certain products for like my LTK or my Amazon storefront, things like that. Branding graphics and updates across platforms. So sometimes I'll want to like rebrand everything, and so I will design everything. I like to design it myself. Market research, I don't really consider this work because I just do it when I'm scrolling. This is just like making sure you're staying up to date on trends and like the changing social media dynamics and algorithms and all that stuff. Then we have brand partnerships, which honestly takes up a huge chunk of my time because I usually have to spend a lot more time on that than my organic content, even though I put out more organic content just because they have very specific wants and needs. But reviewing brand briefs and ideating, drafting concepts and or scripts for each campaign. I usually have about 2 to 3 a week on a regular week, and then busier weeks I have more. It could be like 5+. Making edits to concepts and scripts after we get edits back feedback from brands, filming brand content and integrations, filming UGC content, which is content that I make for brands that I don't even post on my channel, editing and submitting assets, making brand edits to content. Sometimes that requires reshooting everything, planning, scripting, and carrying out sponsored streams as well. I do sponsored streams on Twitch and YouTube. Those are actually, fun fact, some of my most stressful and like least favorite parts of being a creator are sponsored streams because it's so high pressure because it's live. Okay, then we have community management, which is checking in with my mods in the Discord servers regarding like any reports of things that have happened, regarding events coming up, regarding changes we want to make, etc., etc. Staying up to date in those Discord servers, making sure I'm like responding to people, and if I'm tagged in anything, like I have a links page in my Discord, and whenever someone tags me, I link them to something if they need it. Hosting community events in Discord server. Every now and then we host community games day where we will play Jackbox games together. DM management. I have endless time on this because truly this can go on forever and ever. Same with comment management across platforms. That can go on for hours and hours and hours. But I usually reserve like a short amount of time for that just so that I don't get sucked into it, because I do. And then we have being a person online stuff. Because I'm in the gaming space, there's a lot of this because there's so many events around gaming. So travel to events and cons, I always love those. Travel to speaking engagements and panels, interview for sites and articles, interview for like student projects, I always do those. Phone calls with other content creators who are asking me for advice, I always make sure to schedule those. I want to see us all succeed. Commercial shoots, hosting gigs, live showcase gigs. And then streaming. I have 2.5-hour streams twice a week, every single week, Thursdays and Sundays. Thursdays are in the middle of the day, Sundays at the start of the day. So every weekend I'm always streaming, guaranteed. And prep before that takes about like 30 minutes to set everything up. That's that. Favorite part of your job? Very corny, but number one, it's y'all. Like, just being able to connect with people who get me, being able to like feel like I'm making a difference for people, and the amount of comments and DMs I get that are like, you changed this about my life. You helped me with this. You helped me see this differently. You helped me realize it's okay to spend time on myself. Those literally keep me going. They make me cry. They make me laugh. They make me so happy. Even just like the silly, goofy comments. Like those are my favorites. The silly comments that are like, you're my friend. Like we're friends, either on YouTube or on Instagram. I love those. When you send me memes in the DMs, I love those. What was your I made it moment? Definitely when I was able to support the people in my life. That's always been a stressor for me since I was a kid. I just felt like I had this crushing burden of like, I have to be the one to support the people in my life. I feel like I finally hit the point where like that's not a real or imagined fear that I have, because I'm able to just do it at my own whim, and like no one's asking me for anything in my life, but I'm able to provide it, and that means so much to me because that's my love language. My love language is like gifts and just giving. So being able to lighten the load on the people in my life that matter to me and I want to see happy is amazing. It's an amazing feeling. So that was my I made it moment. I would say in like a more creator field, because I know you're like, no, not that way. In a creator field, I would say my first couple of shoots, like real commercial shoots, where like I am the star, I am the sole subject of the shoot, and I have a whole camera crew and a whole studio or like a whole set, and I have like lines I'm reading on a teleprompter or lines I'm memorizing. It feels like being an actor. Like it's crazy. I feel like I was cosplaying being an actor multiple times, and so it was really cool to be able to do that, because like little me growing up wanting to be a lawyer, like yeah, ever since high school I wanted to be a lawyer, and I just never ever saw creative things in my future. And so being able to just plop these fun experiences down in the midst of my job, I'm like, what? That's crazy. So that's my I made it moment, because it's like, why do you, me? I get to do this, you know? So that's fun. Okay, how do you make money through content creation? This is the juicy stuff. Cannot even count all the income streams. They're all over the place, and that is how it should be, I think, if you're a creator. Because if you have all your eggs in one basket and suddenly they change the monetization of that platform and the platform goes away, you're screwed. So you should have a variety, diversified types as well. These are rough estimates. I actually don't know if the exact breakdowns. I have 60% of my income comes from brand deals across all of my platforms. So Instagram and TikTok are my biggest deals by far, like by far. Instagram and TikTok deals, they put a lot of money into because they get good engagement. I think brands know that and put a lot of money into it. YouTube sponsorships are my second lowest, so I always cherry pick those. Twitch and YouTube streams are my lowest brand deal collabs, so I really truly only accept the ones from games that I would be playing anyways. I'm lucky and privileged enough to not have to rely on them, so I can just like say no thank you to that weird merge game. I'm just gonna stick to the games that I would have already played. Okay, so that's 60% of my income, 20% from platforms themselves. So this chunk mostly comes from YouTube AdSense. So actually, I don't even know if it's 20% now that I'm saying that. I think it's more like 10%. Whatever. Anyways, YouTube AdSense from this channel and from my gaming channel, my Twitch ads and subscriptions, and like TikTok and Instagram don't pay anything on the platforms, barely. So I don't even use those. Yeah, YouTube AdSense on both of my channels are very consistent, very reliable. So it's good to have something like that, because if brands start being a little cheap, then I still have like a reliable source on YouTube. If I don't feel like posting ever again on YouTube, which would not happen, I don't think, then it's fine because I have my Instagram and TikTok. So again, like diversifying is important. Then I would say 10% is from associate programs like Amazon, Storefront, or LTK. This has decreased in the last year because I haven't been prioritizing it. I definitely pushed it a lot in 2023, and I think this year I intentionally was like, I'm gonna focus less on products and pushing products. Okay, 10% from miscellaneous things like speaking engagements, appearances, consultations, like Twitch overlays I used to make and sell on Etsy, merch, collabs like my TT inventory one and my Still Classics collab. Those are the streams. I feel like I'm forgetting one and I'm gonna be like, dang. Investment from my business, specifically investments versus like personal investments, high yield savings, returns, and things like that. How do you choose sponsorships? Ooh, man. If y'all saw how much money I have turned down in sponsorships, you would beat my ass. You would beat my ass. I am in such a lucky position. I know y'all are tired of hearing me yap about being lucky, but I'm in such a lucky position where I can turn down sponsorships. There's a lot of creators, which I would not judge creator too much, okay? Because if you enjoy their content, support them. Support their rights and wrongs. Don't support the rights and wrongs, but do support them. If you're like, why are they taking this deal that like it seems like they might like it, but like it's this random thing? I don't know. Give some creators the benefit of the doubt, because they might be in a position where they simply cannot cherry pick the deals that come to them. However, I am in a lucky position where I can do that, which is really nice. I turn down anything I'm not super excited about or a product I don't love. I test a lot of products. If it's skincare, I always make sure I have to test it. I'm like, I have to test it for like 3 months. And if they're like, sorry, our timeline is 1 week, I'm like, not gonna do it. Same with like deodorants. I've tested deodorants. Same with therapy resources. I've tested those. I haven't been sponsored by them. Clothes and the quality of the clothes. Fast fashion-y things. Like I turn down a lot, and especially this past year, I've turned down a lot of companies whose like morals and values I just don't align with, whether it's like politically or sustainability wise. I always look at it with an abundance mindset, where I'm like, something else will come that's fit for me. And it always does. My rule of thumb is like, I don't like to post more than 1 sponsored video a week on each platform. An overwhelming majority of organic content. If some weeks it shakes out where like I didn't post any the week before, so for some reason, because of like dates that the brands are requiring, I have to post 2 that week, that's fine. But just as long as like it is mostly my organic content, that's where I'm happiest. And I definitely went through a phase, I think in early years, where I did not really have a boundary or plan around that, and I felt so icky having to post like 2 to 3 a week. And I was like, what am I doing here? Like, what is this? I am gonna alienate my audience. But now I feel so confident and happy whenever I post a sponsored video, because I'm like, I know I've put effort and work into this to make it cute and make it look like all the rest of my content, so that it's still providing value to y'all. I actually like the product. So either way, it's like something I'm proud to put out there. How do you balance creating and promoting overconsumption? I think this has been a slow but very important lesson for me this year. And it's really come from just like y'all sparking discussion, like in the comments, like sparking respectful discussion. I always really appreciate that. Like I really appreciate when people are like, hey, I love this and I love this, and I'm just curious, like if this is your goal, like have you thought about doing this? And like it's very respectful comments like that that have actually made me stop and think like, wow, I can be more of a positive influence in this way. Something I've been learning this year and trying to prioritize this year. I have approached like every piece of content this year with that in my mind of like, what value does this provide apart from showing off a product? I think I've done 1 favorites video this year. A lot of my short form content isn't product focused anymore. I used to, a ton of my content used to be like, I got this cute thing. Look how cute this thing is. And people are like, link, where'd you get the link? And it was very product focused, and there wasn't like malicious intent. I wasn't like trying to sell things. It was just like, I liked to find cute items, and so that's what I posted about. But after reflecting, I'm like, but is that what I want my content to be about? You know, like, is that what I want to inspire, is for people to buy things? I know that that's not what I want. I would rather inspire people to like spend time on themselves and prioritize their self-care and prioritize their hobbies. And so I've definitely shifted my focus more towards self-care. And of course, I'm always going to share things that I like and products that I like. Like, that's not going to go away completely, because that's just a part of life, is buying things. But also wanting to just like naturally promote mindful consumption in a way where you don't feel like you're being talked down to, you don't feel like you're being criticized, you don't feel like you're being preached to, and instead you're just inspired by seeing how I've slowly changed my ways, and am still always going to be working towards that, because like, nobody's perfect. Yeah, that's that. But some of the ways I personally committed to not centering consumption in my content anymore is like favorites videos. I maybe someday in the future, when the climate of the world looks different, sharing like, these are all the things I bought and tried. It doesn't feel as tasteless as it does right now. Maybe in the future I'll return to favorites videos, who knows? But right now it doesn't feel like something I'm proud to put out, and so I've decided not to do favorites videos on YouTube anymore. Maybe that'll change. I will talk through my mindset if that ever changes, but I just want to inspire things other than buying products. When it comes to like brand deals and stuff, that's a different story. That's like accepting a brand deal so that I can be a creator, and like, I'm accepting the brands that I think are cool and I actually use. So in that way, that's an inevitability in content creation and being a creator. But I don't want my organic content to be centered around that, when I already have to have that as a facet of my content through like brand deals and stuff, you know? And then also another thing I fully committed to is not doing any content, short form content that's like comment for link. And this is not a judgment towards the creators that do that. This is get it how you live it. If you need to do that to make a living, I am not judging you, okay? Don't go run to creators who are doing this and go, why are you doing that? And then you're promoting overconsumption. Don't do that, okay? If you want to open up a conversation about it, DM them, spark a mindful, thoughtful, kind conversation about it. This is not shade towards them. This is a personal commitment that I will never do that, because personally that feels like centering consumption. That's just not what I want my content to be about. What's been your favorite video to make? I would say either my burnout vlog or my healing your inner child video. I'm very proud of the vulnerability and the long-term life lessons that I pulled from to create those. And I get the most messages from those videos about having helped people get through something, and that means the most. That's my measure of success. Preferred length of video, I would say like 30 minutes to an hour. I feel like those have like the coziest FaceTimey vibes. I really like them. And when I watch vlogs, I get so excited when my favorite YouTubers put out a long vlog, because then I'm like, I could sit back, I could eat my lunch. Whenever like a shorter video comes on, I'm like, okay, I'm skipping through. Are you less anxious as a full-time content creator? Absolutely, definitely. I think the anxiety now comes from like being perceived or judged online, because it's completely out of your control, and someone can come in your comments and be like, you're this kind of person, and you're like, where did you get that from? And that's just out of your control. But that's just so rare, and usually I'm able to let things go pretty quickly. Definitely don't feel any amount of anxiety close to what I felt like in law school, in my work as a lawyer, because I just felt like I didn't have any free time for myself, and that will make you riddled with anxiety. Do you feel like you have a financially secure career? No, I think I have one of the least secure jobs, probably. Any app could shut down. Brands could stop doing marketing on apps. There's just so many things out of my control. I knew that going into this job, and so it's just about making smart decisions. Like I save like 50 to 60% of the income that I make in either investments or high yield savings accounts. I'm like, it's all saved. I pay myself a percentage, and then 30% of everything goes to taxes, and then like half of everything else goes to investments and savings, because I would love to be able to be like 38 and never have to rely on something out of my control ever again. I would love my money to work for me in my late 30s. That's my goal, and I'm going to make it happen. Yeah, you just have to be very mindful about planning for your financial future when you go into this job, because tomorrow's not promised. How did your close circle get used to filming? I think I like very slowly introduced them to it. Like whenever I would film back at my old place when I just lived with Maya, I would never film when Maya was around, like rarely. And if I did, it was like, hey, by the way, I'm filming. And then here it was the same thing. I would like only film in certain rooms, and then it would slowly be like, okay, I'm filming. Are you okay with that? No, okay, yes, okay. And I wouldn't just like film haphazardly while like Maya just woke up and I'm like la la la. Like I'm very, very respectful of their space and their privacy and their comfortability. And I also just know when is an appropriate time to film and when is not. How do you know creating is the right job for you? It's really not for everybody. I think that a lot of people look at the life of a creative, whether it's like you're an actor or a musical theater person or a photographer or a director, content creator, like any of those things in the creative field. I feel like people look at that and go like, yeah, I could do that right now. I could do it right now. I feel like I used to think that too about creating. Before I did it, I was like, it must be so fun. Like, it must be so fun. Like, I would kill for that job. I still would kill for this job. I think there's just a lack of understanding of what goes into creative jobs, especially if you have like a focus around your content. It's not just like turning on a camera and showing your life. Like, there's so much that goes into creating a moment that is inspiring to people aesthetically, having the right lighting, learning editing, learning pacing, learning da 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 da. But if you look at my earlier content, like if you scroll all the way back on my Instagram, you look at my early content, you look at my early videos, same with TikTok, you would be like, what a minute. And that's back when I thought I could do that. I could do that. You kind of have to have that mentality to jump into something as stupid as a creative path. I say that lovingly and jokingly. You kind of have to have that delusion of like, I could do that, because you have to believe you can until you actually learn how to do it. I feel comfortable saying I have skill as a creative in framing and photography and videography. Looking back, I don't think I had those skills. I look back at content from last year and I go, that does not pass my current day standards. And that's how it should be. It should be every single year you're growing and you're learning and you're improving, but you can't do that unless you jump into it. So I think it requires being a little bit delusional, being okay with being bad at something first and learning as you go, learning on the job, but also knowing that there are going to be so many skills and you're going to be bad and you have to accept being bad before you can grow to a place that you're proud of. And so much time goes into that education process. It's like learning a new language in so many different ways and so many different apps. If you're into streaming, there's so much tech to learn. There's so much in the, oh my gosh, like the actual tech setup and then the actual software of setting everything up and all the things that connect. Like it could be a full college course of how to set up a Twitch stream. And I did get a lot of questions about that. I would just say check YouTube. YouTube is going to be your college course for Twitch. There's simply too much. It would be another 3-hour long video. YouTube tutorials for sure. And then also streaming takes a lot out of you. You have to be okay with being on for hours and hours and hours and like being funny and witty, ready to go and putting anything that happened to you in your personal life aside and just go on stream and be on for hours. You have to be okay with having a wonky schedule and working on the weekends. If you have a lot of friends with 9-to-5s, you just have to be the one with the wonky schedule who's working, who's like, sorry, I'll come late to this thing because I have to finish this video. Sometimes it might feel like, wow, why can't I just have a weekend? Because you get so much freedom in your schedule. Shut up, you know? You just have to be okay with it and you get used to it. You have to like having your creativity challenged. You have to come up with like 7 to 10 new ideas every week. Like fresh new ideas every week for something in your niche. Some of that long form, your creativity will be challenged. You have to be responsible, like especially with brand partnerships. You can't just willy-nilly do stuff. Like you have deadlines, a lot of deadlines, and deadlines of different kinds, and deadlines with deliverables. Like you have to be really professional. If you're not, you won't get more brand deals. So at the end of the day, it's a job nonetheless, but it is a really fun job and it's really fun to work for yourself and talk about the things you like to talk about. Okay, the next category is creator tips. Tips for a new YouTuber, I would say listen to your own instinct, because your own vision is what's going to set you apart. So trying to like replicate a successful YouTuber and do exactly what they do, that's not going to work for you, because you're never going to learn your own voice and your own vision and like what you want to set you apart. I would say just try and record what you feel is naturally funny or interesting to record. Try and edit in a pacing and a flow that feels natural to you and that's not just emulating what someone you like is doing. And then know when to be critical and then when to not be critical. It's not helpful to criticize things about yourself that you cannot change, okay? Like don't sit there and be like, I hate my voice, I hate this. Like, you can't change any of that. Just ignore that. Keep it pushing. Do criticize the stuff you can change. If you're blabbering, if you're yapping, if you're a big yapper, cut out things. Cut out a bunch of things. Be critical. What's actually interesting? Cut out everything else, okay? And it's gonna take trial and error to realize that, and that's okay. If you go back to my old vlogs, I'm like me, I'm authentic to myself, but it's like I have this mask of like, I'm on camera. And that just took unlearning. It just took getting comfortable in front of the camera, and that's okay. It's gonna take a while. And then also you have to internalize that there are going to be people that do not like you. You'll be like, why don't you like me? You don't know me. Why are you watching my video the second I post it and disliking it immediately? It will not make sense, and it doesn't have to make sense. That's not your problem. There are going to be a handful of people that just hate you, that just despise you. They just randomly found you and they hate you, and they want to watch everything you put out, but they hate you. They hate watch you. And they're like, it's not like a weird obsessive, like, no, they actually like you. No, they hate you. There's just people who deal with their problems by funneling all of their energy into hating somebody. And you just have to accept that. You have to accept that as a creator on the internet. And then on the other side of the spectrum, there's just people who just simply won't like you. Like, they won't like your face. They won't like how you talk. They won't like how you eat. They won't like how your brain works. They just won't like something about you. And it doesn't say anything about you, because there's going to be triple, quadruple, 10 times the people that do like that about you, that like you specifically because of those things, that like how you eat, that specifically like how your brain works. There's going to be so many people that are there just for you because you are who you are. You cannot be for everybody, and you won't be for everybody, but you will be for the people that matter. How do you become successful on social media? 100% consistency. Everybody says the same thing, but it's true. It's consistency. The only difference between the person who succeeded and the person who didn't is the person who succeeded didn't stop. Obviously, there's nuances in that, and sometimes that's not true, but most of the time, you can't succeed if you stop trying, period. And there's so many things I started and stopped. And if I kept going, I probably would have succeeded in that niche, but I just wasn't passionate about it. But I am passionate about this, and so I kept going. If I had ever stopped at any point, I wouldn't be where I am. If I stop right now, I won't be where I will be in a couple of years. Also, consistency is how you grow and learn and get better. My voice is giving out because I've been talking for so long. So not only are you being consistent in that you're constantly putting yourself in front of people to find you, and you're going to have inevitable growth through doing that, even if it's at a snail's pace, consistency is also helping you learn new skills, learn to better yourself, learn to get better at editing, learn to get better at storytelling, learn to get better at discerning what's interesting and what's not in your content. Another thing though is just starting. Before I started doing this, I was like, I could do that. And if I didn't just start, I would be sitting here twiddling my thumbs at my law job, still saying I could do that. Okay, do it. That person had the courage or the stupidity to actually go for it and actually try it. How do you feel confident enough to make content of you talking? I did not wait to feel confident. I did it not confident. I did it scared. I did it fearful. Isn't that a quote? Like, do it scared. Do it scared. Do it unsure. Do it not confident. I thought I looked and sounded silly for the longest, and then I got over it because it doesn't matter. Waiting around for something to feel right before you start it, I think is never a good idea, because I think you're never going to feel right. You're not going to feel confident until you do it a million times. I think I finally started to feel confident in front of the camera, and still I'm like, some days I'm not feeling it, but I still do it. You still gotta do it. I think in reality, you suddenly look around and you're like, you know what, this isn't so bad. I think I feel okay in front of a camera. Do it scared. This is a question I got so many times in different ways. How do I start X thing about X thing? How do I start an Instagram about gaming? How do I start a YouTube channel about hobbies? Oh, you're gonna be so annoyed at me for saying this. Just start it. Just start it. There's no magical guide. There's no amount of investment you could do, an education you could do prior to starting it that's gonna make you feel ready for it. There's no course to take from a professional. There's no nothing. You just have to start it. And it's going to be bad when you first start. It's going to be bad. It's not going to feel right. It's not going to look like how you see other people's content looking. You will not get to that point unless you just start it. You'll learn your own personal style. You'll learn your community as you go. You'll learn the ins and outs. There's no amount of preparing that's going to help you from just feeling a little bit stupid and feeling fresh and green and new. If I didn't just open an Instagram account 4 years ago on a whim, I would not be here right now. On a whim. I didn't sit there and prepare. I didn't sit there and no. I just opened it on a whim, posted a picture on a whim, and kept doing that ever since. I would not be here without doing that. You have to just start it. Do not let your perfectionism and your preparation and your planning keep you from starting. Don't be the thing holding you back. Did you learn how to script edit before you started or on the go? 100% on the go. I feel like everything with content creation is on the go. And I recommend it that way. Just throw yourself into it. The best thing to do is like start and then be like, how do I do this? You go to Google, you go to YouTube, how do I do this? You learn it and then you apply it. Versus if you learn all these things before, you don't even really know how to apply it. So just start. Advice for not feeling silly or dumb for sharing things online. You have to take your feelings out of it completely. Your feelings are not relevant to what you create and put out into the world. As long as you like doing it, as long as you're having fun doing it, that's all that matters. Feelings about how your content and creative endeavors are received do not matter. The second that you put any weight into your feelings about how your content is received is the second your content will change for the worse, because you're not being authentic and you're making content either for the wrong reasons or to chase a certain thing. You're not making content because that's what you want to put out and that's what's true to you. You're making content to chase the feelings you feel about their reception, when it shouldn't have anything to do about the reception. It should just be about the creative process itself. And when you rely too much on the feelings around the reception of your work, you end up in a cycle where you end up just like being too fearful and scared to ever put anything out. You can hold space for the feeling. You can say, I feel silly, I feel dumb, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day to the content you're putting out there. Put it out anyways. Put it out anyways. Doesn't matter how you feel. And over time, you stop feeling those things for the most part. Sometimes I still feel silly putting out a piece of content. I'm like, that was kind of cringe and a little silly. And I still put it out because my feelings about it don't matter. It's teaching me something about my creative process when I put it out. If I put it out and it's received negatively, it's teaching me something. If it's received positively, it's teaching me something. But your feelings about that shouldn't guide how you then approach your content. How to not feel awkward in front of a camera. This is kind of similar to the past ones, but like, I think the biggest mistake people make with content creation is like assuming that every creator just has these skills, like we just naturally have them. And I think people make the same mistake with like artists and crafty people and DIY people. They're like, okay, they did this thing, it must just be like a natural ability, I'm gonna try it myself. And then when it doesn't immediately work, it's like, oh, I don't have that natural ability, I'm never trying it again. No, like we had to learn so many skills to get to where we are. Our outcome was a journey that you didn't see, and like you are starting at the start of that journey and expecting the outcome that is at the end of our journey, and that's just not realistic. So silly things like feeling comfortable in front of a camera is one of those like hidden things. I don't know. When to get an agency. This is the last question in this category. I always tell my creator friends this: when you feel like your admin time is cutting into the time you would be spending on being creative and creating content to a point where it's detrimental to you and your content, that's when you should get an agency. And at the same time, when you feel like you have too many emails that you can't keep up with them, and if you did, you would be cutting into your content time, that is the time to get a manager. Waiting through those emails, negotiating, contracting, back and forths with the companies and the edits and all of that while you're also trying to do content creation is just like not sustainable when you have so many incoming emails in your inbox. Literally, my manager, that is her own job to deal with all of that. So like trying to balance both of those is like having two jobs, and it's just not sustainable at a certain level of like incoming inquiries. How? It's kind of different for everybody. Mine reach out to me, but if you're at a point where you feel like you really need an agent, you really need a management company, I would just cold email and just reach out to a bunch of management companies. Like look at the creators who you follow, who you admire, see in their emails which management company they're managed by, and then just like cold email them and ask if they have openings and if they're willing to like take on new talent and see how that goes. Okay, now we're in the lighthearted questions. Lighthearted question time. If you have a choice to only see one color for 10 years, what would it be and why? Green, because, I don't know, I could see all the beautiful plants. If you could eat one meal forever, what would it be? Taco Bell. Coffee or tea? Tea. I can't drink coffee unless it's decaf, and I don't love it as much as I love a good matcha or chai. Taco Bell order, grilled cheese burrito, beans instead of beef, no sour cream, no chipotle sauce, add creamy jalapeno instead. As we get into Halloween, any favorite movies, TV shows, etc.? I know you love it, but no Gilmore Girls. No! I love Hocus Pocus, 100%. Watch it every year. I love, love, love it. Love it. If you could create your own video game, what would it be like? It would be like Gilmore Girls, okay? It would be like Gilmore Girls, small town, Stars Hollow. There's weekly town meetings to go to. There's like things happening. People have schedules, but all you do is have like a cozy part-time job. Like maybe you're a librarian, maybe you're a mail person, maybe you run a cafe. Like you can choose the different jobs you can have. You can do tasks for people, and you can do grocery shopping, you can decorate your house, you can start romances. Just a very small town adventure game. And it would definitely be multiplayer. If you were a pigeon for a day, what would you choose to poop on? I would choose to poop on like a really terrible person. Just a really, really mean, bad person. Ruin their day. Like during a really, like a date. They're on a date, I would poop on them. Astrological signs. Maya is really big on astrology, so of course I know my big three. Sun is Aries, Gemini moon, and Capricorn rising. Stardew Sun or Paleo Daughter is so funny and so difficult because if it was swapped, it would be so easy. Stardew Daughter would be so easy. Starting Center Paleodontor. I gotta do Paleodontor, sorry. Gotta do it. Would you ever adopt a dog? Yes, I just want more yard space. I wanna have a yard. I don't wanna have a dog, like, be cooped up. Do you believe in aliens? I guess in the sense that, like, we have no idea what's in the universe, and, like, it's so vast, so statistically there has to be some other form of life. I guess in that way, sure. YouTubers you watch. This is gonna be long, you guys. This is gonna be long. Okay? And I separated it into categories. The first category, cozy vlogs. So this is just like cutesy, cozy, feel-good vlogs you can put on in the background. I have Kenna Marie. I have Live It Like Lauren. I actually am very invested in Live It Like Lauren, so not a background watch for me. Amanda Gallant. It's just Jordan. Love her visuals. Cozy Little Flower or Alex. I love her. Jellybean Celine. Uncomfy Co. She has a cozy clay business, so really fun to watch. Aaliyah Simone. Love her editing. Carla Espinoza. Jayla Abriana and Lynn Trong. Then I have like girly vlogs. These are like very fashion girlies, girls out, like, I don't know how else to explain this, but like girly vlogs. We have Aaliyah's Face, McKenna Walker, Monet McMichael, Janet Endomanhina, Tam Cower vlogs, specifically her vlog channel, and then Taya Renee. Video essays and breakdown videos. Emergency, I love him. Mina Lay, Shanasphere, Jordan Teresa, Amanda Todd Hunter, Amanda Mariana, Kendra Gaylord, Gabby Bell, Thomas Flight, Tiffany Ferg, D'Angelo Wallace, and FD Signifier. Miscellaneous, it could be just some other niches and stuff thrown in here. Keela Misdom, she's a dancer in Vegas, and she just has the most interesting vlogs. Juicy Jazz, Alyssa Dykstra, who's my friend. I love watching my friends. But she does a variety of like gaming and vlogging content. Stephanie Sue or Rotten Mango. Raven Elise, she does a lot of like party planning, DIY stuff. Rem Life, Liz the Last does great gaming content. Iona, also great gaming content. And that's it. Those are like all the YouTubers I watch basically. Is everything soup? Yes. And if you have any further questions, you can DM Maya, okay? I was asked both nationality and ethnicity. So nationality, American. I was born in America. And then ethnicity, I am half black and half white. Just kind of those two things. That's about it. Top 3 places to visit, I would say Oaxaca, Mexico. I lived there for a month. I loved it. London, love London. And then it's between Berlin and Prague. I really like those two cities. And then, okay, here's the last one. Situation. You have to flee your home immediately and can only take 5 of your trinkets. Which trinkets are you taking? All your pets, people, and important things are safe, don't worry. I appreciate that disclaimer. This is so hard. Okay. I'm gonna assume like tech is not included. So I'm just gonna go trinkets. I'm gonna go my Pixel Chick. I'm gonna go my, oh gosh. I think I'm gonna go my, oh my God. This is, you knew this was gonna be my hardest question. 1, Sunny Angel Baby. I don't know which one. Don't make me choose. Bunger Plushie from Bug Snacks. I think I'm gonna take my little glass octopus. And then I think I'm going to take, wow. Maybe like a Tamagotchi. I think I'll take my Tamagotchi. Okay. Oh my gosh, you guys, thank you so much for sticking through that whole thing. I'm glad that we got to finish our little coloring page. It's so cute. I love you so much. If you stuck through this whole thing, you are a trooper. I want you to leave an answer to whatever question stood out to you the most. So like if you heard a question on here, you were like, ooh, I want to answer that myself. I want you to put that question and then put your own answer to it because I want to read it because I love y'all and I love hearing about you and I love learning about you. So do that, please, in the comments. I want to see it. I will love reading it. Love you so much. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for understanding me. Thank you for being here with me. It'll probably be years before I do another one of these, but if you have any remaining questions, put them in the comments too, and I will try to answer them quickly if I didn't get to any that you were curious about this time around. I love you so much, y'all. Stay cozy. Bye!